Hey everybody, welcome to Don't Copy That Floppy. I'm your host Lex.
I'm your other host Dan. We are a weekly video game news podcast broadcasting to you live on ChipBit Radio at chipbit.net, as well as like Twitch, and we're on Twitter and iTunes and Facebook and YouTube and Steam and every other thing.
We're on all the social media.
All the things. We're not on Tumblr.
Oh, or Instagram.
We don't have an Instagram, we don't have a Tumblr, we don't have a MySpace.
Well, we gotta get on that MySpace.
We don't have a GeoCities homepage.
I would actually love to make a GeoCities homepage.
Angel Fire web zone. but we do have a lot of other things.
We're on Patreon. If you want to support the show, you can go over to the Patreon thing. We have all sorts of different rewards. You can vote on stories each week. You can get additional content each month. All that stuff. You can help us reach...
Thinking,
yeah.
Why do I want to give these guys money? Well, stay tuned and find out.
We have all sorts of milestones. This Twitch channel is one of them.
Yeah. We're going to play games on it. We already did play games on it.
We played some
We're going to play some more games on it. But let's get into our news stories. Let's just jump right into it.
Well, what do we have this week? We've got stuff about Ubisoft. We got a couple of those things.
Yes, we do. With Ubisoft, we have an update about Palmer Luckey and his great Trump scandal. I don't know what else to call it.
We got stuff about Battleborn.
Battleborn.
Randy Pitchford is here again.
Got some great news about Capcom ruining everything again.
Oh, yeah!
Which it's become like a monthly, bi-monthly or quarterly occurrence.
Yeah, I'd say quarterly.
Capcom does something where they just bungle it up and everybody hates them and then they roll it back really fast. That kind of thing. We got some info about China. We always have stories about China. Tons of stories about China, and just some cool little video games to look at.
Some little... Oh, and Nidhogg.
We're going to talk about that early, because I just want to get it out of the way, because I'm mad.
So, we do voting stories, and originally... I was going to post Nidhogg as a voting story, but I accidentally posted something else in the email. So then no one got to vote on that.
Yeah, so we're just
going to talk about it. It's too hideous to not talk about.
Oh my god.
Oh, we have video. We can show people how hideous it is.
We can show people. Anyone who hasn't seen it already will know. So, Psychonauts 2, this is our first article for this week on Polygon from, what time? When was this from? The 29th, yesterday. Psychonauts 2 was announced that it was going to be going up on a crowdfunding website called Fig.
This is a little different than some crowdfunding sites because it's like you pay into it, you become like a shareholder.
Basically.
Yeah,
you have the option of investing in the game that you help crowdfund, and they ran into a bunch of trouble getting the money.
Oh no!
Because they had to go through the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, like their review process, to make it so non-accredited investors could actually purchase equity on the game. So basically, they did all this stuff, and tons of people gave money to it, and then they realized that the United States Security and Exchange Commission was like, hey, you can't do that unless these people have investor credentials. You have to be an accredited investor to do this.
Fig did not think this through.
So it was not thought through very well, apparently, but the SEC has finally made it, approved this, which marks a huge milestone for Fig and its partners. Because it actually makes them the first company that can now take non-accredited investment for video games. So now they can actually do the thing that they were supposed to do.
They can finally do the thing they were originally supposed to be able to.
Yes.
Has this not happened with other projects on Fig?
No, because it's new.
But yeah,
so they had months without any other game campaigns, but now there have been 3 more. We got Make Sale, Trackless, and Wasteland 3. Very exciting.
So, I like how...
but this also means Psychonauts 2 will now get more underway.
Excellent.
In its development, which is nice, because it definitely made the money they needed.
I will point out that Chiblet Thief is hosting us. I know that person.
Oh, do you?
One of my friends from college who
what a sweetheart.
Oh,
what a peach.
It was very nice of her to do that. But we appreciate it. See, this is what's great about having... For this recording, we have 2 monitors instead of 1.
Oh my god.
Let me tell you something. All this screen real estate. Oh, it's so good.
It's pretty intense. I'm not used to this. So that's about all there is to say about Fig and Psychonauts 2.
Man, Fig goofed that real hard. They really should have had all that legal stuff squared away before they started letting people use their site. I would also
like to point out on the side that this is an important update for anyone interested. Overwatch has gotten its first official porn parody. As advertised on the side of
not a planned article, but an article we need to comment on.
Something you might want to know. I have seen other pictures from it. Widowmaker is not blue. What? So if you're a stickler for, like, accuracy, you might be disappointed.
Stay to the, stay on the digital stuff.
Please, yeah, keep it.
Because there's plenty of good animated Overwatch for. We reported on it in the past.
Look, if you don't have the budget to do a good live action Overwatch porn parody, just don't.
Yeah, it's not going to be as good as the animated stuff.
You need to have the money behind it. And maybe someday, if this Overwatch porn parody does remarkably well, Overwatch Porn 2, The Reckoning, will have a much higher budget.
I like how Brazers are the one who are...
Of course they are. They're pioneers.
They're always staying on top of the trend, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, now we get to talk about horrible, hideous...
So, you already can kind of see it in the video here. There's an article from yesterday as well. Who knows about indie fencing game Nidhogg? I do.
Yeah, so the cool hip kids knew about it.
The cool hip kids knew about it. So, Nidhogg was a little game which was like a 2D sort of platforming action game that was it was tug of war more or less, where you had to play as you were either an orange guy or a yellow guy, and you got swords, and you had to fence. You might as well just pull up the video now.
Yeah,
you had swords and you had to fence, and you had to get from one end of the map to the other, where you would get eaten by a big worm dragon thing, and that was the goal of the game. You got to get eaten. And it had, it was pretty gory in spite of its, very simplistic graphics. There was tons of orange and yellow blood and, weapons and everything. I'm going to play through that video one more time.
It's really short. It's 17 seconds.
It's really short, and it's all horrible. And so a sequel there was, a surprise sequel announcement for this game.
So at first everyone was really excited.
And then they watched the teaser. And I mean, I don't know, Lex, you said it was horrifying. Would you care to extrapolate a little more?
Okay,
on that?
So the graphics of this game, I actually kind of like the backgrounds.
I do too.
A little bit.
I actually think that the environments look very nice.
The graphics are reminiscent of maybe Rayman, I guess, a little bit. They're very
kind of a slightly more detailed, Castlevania 4.
Yeah, it's very, very stylized, pixel art fantasy stuff. But my big problem is not with the environments, which some of them I actually kind of like.
What could it be?
The characters.
Oh, no way! They're so good looking.
They're weird, naked men. Their nipples are very prominent.
They're like naked Muppets. They have big nipples. They have weird pot bellies and doughy rubber arms. And they still have the same animations for fencing and fighting with the weapons, and it doesn't work. It looks weird. I don't like these big Nickelodeon characters with the swords fighting each other. Something about it doesn't mesh. And apparently the are we getting desktop audio feedback?
It's the same thing that happened when we first broadcasted from your house.
Yeah.
We had weird echo. Sorry about that.
The other game had it had very simplistic graphics, but it had a clear style to it. It was this minimalist, still somehow very brutal and violent, kind of elegant, fast-paced moving thing. And it seems like all that is still the same, but now the characters are these weird, hideous men. And I don't get it. I don't get it. I read a longer article about this where they talked to the developers about how they came across the guy who did the pixel art for this and how they wanted him to do the art for the game. And it seems like they're going for a more comedic feel with what they wanted out of this game. The development team, which I think is only 2 people, wanted this kind of goofy style to it. And in my opinion, I mean, I'm not them, but in my opinion, that's a terrible idea. This style does not fit the kind of game that you have made. For the characters, at least. Everything else I'm pretty much fine with. But the characters look messed up. They have, weird, goofy facial animations and stuff, and it just makes the whole thing very over the top. it's also kind of distracting from, like, the core gameplay, which is what drew so many people into this game. Because you had so much to pay attention to just with how your opponent was moving before, that now you also have to look at these horrible dough men. And I think it's just it's distracting. I don't like it. I just don't like it. I don't know how else to describe it.
Well, it's funny because also like the screaming sound effects that they make,
which I think were in the original game.
They are. When I went back and watched that, I'm like, oh yeah, it's like the same sound effects. But in the original game, it's fine. But in this, with the character models, it freaks me out.
I don't. Yeah, I don't like. I'm fine with how the big worm dragon looks. It looks fine. It's a big horrifying worm dragon.
Sure, why not?
But the characters, like, man,
it looks so weird,
horrible. Terrible. But it seems like response to this has been largely negative, I think, from what I've seen generally.
Yeah.
Most gaming publications have stayed away from saying whether they like the new art style or not, I've noticed. I read articles from a bunch of different websites, and all of them just said, Nidhogg's back, and it sure looks different. But nobody said, like, I don't like this art style. All the game journalists are just like, it's weird, I guess. But we'll see how that goes, because I feel like the game's too far along development for them to change it. Although with the pixel art game, maybe you can change it. But I don't think they'll want to change it, because this is their vision.
It is their
vision. If we don't like it, we can get out and not buy the game like I plan on doing.
I guess that's fair.
Hey, Battleborn. The little game that couldn't quite do it.
No, not really. Randy Pitchford, you goofed up again. Although, one of the interesting things about this article from Kotaku from...
Yesterday, the 29th.
Is that it posits that this is not Randy Pitchford's fault.
I mean, it's not entirely his fault.
What
a foolish thing to say.
It's mostly his fault.
Blame Randy.
The Overwatch, it came out... When did it come out? It came out a little while ago.
It's the same month. They came out the same month.
Overwatch they came out
Battleborn? Yeah, they both came out in May. I think Battleborn came out like 2 weeks before.
Oh, Overwatch I think we were reporting on that, yeah.
Overwatch was like at the end of the month, and Battleborn came out more towards the beginning.
Okay, so they both came out around the same time. They were both viewed as very similar games, although Overwatch ended up being way better. So a lot of people did not buy...
admittedly, I haven't played Battleborn.
I'm going off of the majority of reviews that
and from what I've seen of both games. I mean, I've played Overwatch, but what I've seen of Battleborn, it also does not look particularly appealing to me.
But yeah, and one of the things here, now that Battleborn has, it has steadily decreased in price, primarily because it has not been selling well at all.
There was a sharp decline in the player base, like the moment Overwatch came out.
So 2 weeks in.
And then it has steadily gone down since then, with rumors that this game was going to go free to play. And like you said, it's down to like $20 at a lot of retailers now. Only 4 months after its release.
Oof.
Which is pretty fast.
But one of the things this article talks about is how it's probably going to go free to play. Supposedly going to go free to play.
Yes.
It also gives a little context in that this game was made by Gearbox, but it's published by 2K Games. And apparently there is tension between those two entities, where 2K really wanted the $60 price tag, whereas Gearbox was like, wait, but what if it's free to download though?
Okay, that's interesting.
So that's why I was saying, it's not Randy Pitchford's fault.
Well, now no one's going to play Battleborn even more because Paladins came out. The other not Overwatch game.
The other one.
Although there's been lots of drama surrounding that too, with people calling it an Overwatch ripoff and things like that. Although allegedly it was in development and beta and showing off content that people are saying it ripped off from Overwatch much before Overwatch showed said content.
Yeah,
I don't really know what the deal is.
I remember reading about that. Their response was odd, because they were just like, we didn't copy them, it's that everyone always copies each other in this industry.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's some truth to that.
All this stuff is just stuff common in like MOBA games that everybody uses now. But I don't know. There's definitely some stuff. But, yeah, what came first, the Paladin or the Overwatch? You may never know.
We may never know.
Although we do know that Paladins was in beta earlier, I guess. But Paladins is a free-to-play alternative to Overwatch. So why not just play Paladins and not Battleborn?
We've got... one of the things we learned from this article, however,
yes,
was that when they went to reach out to Randy Pitchford, and they were just like, oh, hey, what's going on? You're going free-to-play? It seems like you're going free-to-play. We got inside sources saying you're going free-to-play. Pitchford, and I think you can scroll down, and there's some of his tweets here, was just like, whoa, hey, come on. I was just told about a reckless story about Battleborn going free-to-play.
So reckless.
That is false. There is no plans to convert Battleborn to free-to-play. He was asked for more comment on that, and he continued to tweet.
We have unannounced plans to do a trial version that would be free.
From which retail can be purchased along with DLC.
Yeah. So you get on a demo.
Yeah, so then someone was like, yeah, is this like a, what did they use the term, timed demo? Yeah, the Kotaku asked him, does that mean timed demo, or will there
be free multiplayer modes?
Yeah, and he responded with, I don't think timed demo is right. I think we need to sort out plans first. First is in all capitals, so, it's serious. And then announce them. Call in a few months.
Try again later.
Yeah, try again later.
So I guess we'll find out.
We're going to find out. Over-under on Randy Pitchford lying about it not being free-to-play.
At least 50-50.
I know, right? I don't trust most of the things Randy Pitchford says.
Bare minimum 50-50, so I guess we'll see. Time will tell. Hey, guess what? Speaking of Randy Pitchford... No Man's Sky's under investigation for false advertising!
This is almost a story that I wasn't going to post to social media, but then I was like...
Because you thought it was stupid?
Because I thought it was stupid, but then I was like, whatever, I'll post it. And
then,
like,
a bit of conversation
a bunch of people talked about it.
Oh, yeah, totally. Well, you made a good point, I believe, when you posted this to our Facebook page, which was, if Aliens Colonial Marines got off the hook for false advertising, then there's no way that they can, accuse No Man's Sky of false advertising.
Exactly.
Which I thought was a really good point.
Yeah, because in the past, we have reported... we spent a lot of time reporting on the lawsuit against Gearbox. And what was the... Capcom or Sony? What was the parent company for that?
It was...
Or Sega. Maybe it was Sega.
It was
Sega.
And the $60 million that went to Borderlands 2.
Yeah, all that whole thing. Go check out our archives for that ridiculousness. But the culmination... actually, I don't think that case is technically over yet, but one of the big things that happened in that case was that the developer of the game, they were saying oh, Gearbox, it was false advertisement because you showed levels that weren't in the game. And they ended up dropping Gearbox from the lawsuit, saying, oh, yeah, it's not their fault. It's really the parent company's fault, and they shifted all the blame, so it's fine. And, this is not a big deal, and, it's not really false advertising.
Yeah.
So now we have not actually a lawsuit, which is what I initially thought this was, and I think a lot of people thought this was.
No, but it's an investigation.
Yes, so there's a UK-based organization called the Advertising Standards Authority, which is looking into No Man's Sky, saying, hey, this is false advertising that you guys gave leading up to this game. Right. And we need to investigate it.
We're going to look into this, so you better believe it. So, chances of this going anywhere are probably pretty slim. Also, I think it's weird that No Man's Sky is getting accused... all of the flack for No Man's Sky's supposed false advertising seems to be being dropped on Hello Games specifically. And calling back to an article reported on, I believe, 2 weeks ago, where the head of Sony, Shuhei Yoshida, said, I can't believe they advertised this game so brazenly. I can understand some of people's complaints with the advertising of No Man's Sky. And Sony, you did that! Sony did it! Why are people not angry at Sony for being the ones pushing this so hard and, bringing it on stage as their big center attraction multiple E3s in a row? And just, like, constantly being like, you guys, No Man's Sky, infinite universe, oh my god, you can do anything. Like, but Sony's off scot-free. And Shuei Yoshida's like, yeah, wow, this is crazy. I can't believe Hello Games advertised this game this way. Maybe they should have had a better PR team, but I mean, they're an indie studio, so what are you going to do about it? But now everyone's just mad at Sean Murray.
Have you seen his face? He's such a likable man. How could you do this to him?
I don't think Sean Murray lied about anything, really. Like, there's stuff on Steam that, like, shows off, like, different content, but it's no different than the original trailers and stuff. It's no different than what you see the first time a game is announced at E3 with, like, this is a video made for E3. And then the game is way different when it comes out. Look at The Order 1886. Look at friggin' every Call of Duty game ever made. Look at Killzone 2 way back in the day. Didn't that look amazing when they showed it at E3? Yeah, wow, so. That turned out different, huh? Look at Aliens Colonial Marines. Like, there are way more heinous instances of false advertising in the gaming world than No Man's Sky. People are mad about No Man's Sky because it's a tiny indie game that you can't really do a whole lot in.
I think it's also because it got hyped way more than any of those other instances.
Yeah. All those other things
had bigger sales, I would say, sure.
Yeah. And it had the huge sale numbers and stuff as well. It shouldn't have been a $60 game. They pushed it so hard as a $60 game, like, ugh. It should, if it had been cheaper, I bet they would have avoided almost all of this fallout as well.
Now, the thing about this, why it seems like a bigger story than it actually is, is this authority that are investigating them. They don't actually sue people.
No.
What they can do, though, is they can control advertisements. I assume in the UK and not elsewhere, because they're a UK-based agency
as well.
But they can control when advertisements happen, who advertises, where you get to advertise in that area, stuff like that. So I think that might be like the extent of what they can do, though, at least in other stuff I've read about them.
Right.
So if they find No Man's Sky guilty of this, they can cut all their advertising, which at this point, after the release of the game, seems to make no difference to me.
Yeah.
So they're really not going to be able to do much other than give No Man's Sky bad press, which really only hurts the game devs and what they're going to be able to do in the future, because people will look back at them and see these marks on their record.
Yeah.
But they're not going to, like, lose out. There's not going to be legal action brought against them.
There's, like, a big enough mark on their record now just from people's response to this game. Can you imagine the next thing that Hello Games is going to have to put out and push as a title? Like, can you imagine how hard how much of an uphill battle it's going to be for them to just, like, release another game without people flaming the crap out of them? Oof. It's going to be tough.
I mean, as we were talking about last week, we really don't want Sean Murray to become the next Peter Molyneux.
They might just quit. They should just dissolve their studio and then restart it under a different name.
Because that always works.
In this case, it might be a benefit. I don't know. Just say Goodbye Games.
Oh,
Goodbye Games.
That was bad.
Or make it Hello Games.
Go to the UK. No, because that's where the Advertising Standards Authority could actually affect them. They can't do that.
They can't do it.
It's the last place they should go.
How about G'day Games?
That's a good,
go to
Australia. That's good call. Go to Australia.
Yeah, go to Australia. It'll be friggin' fantastic.
For all of those who are newer to the stream, this is who showed up after we started broadcasting tonight. We're Don't Copy That Floppy. We're video game news podcasting. Maybe you could tell that from the head banner. I don't know.
It's right there.
It's right there. Look at these custom graphics I made. I slaved over a computer for this.
A hot computer.
I mean, they do get hot.
That's true, actually.
But thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We're going to be going until a little after 8 p.m. tonight. It's an hour-long show.
Oh, one of our listeners also said in the chat that he thought we might be streaming games again, which we did a couple weeks ago. We will be streaming games again towards the end of October.
Yeah, we're going to do some spooky stuff.
We're going to do some Halloween streams.
Yeah, and then also we got a suggestion the other night to do, because our last stream was a shmup night.
Yeah.
We got a suggestion to try and do a beat 'em up night.
So that's probably something that'll
So yeah, I mean,
point.
yeah, that'll definitely, probably won't happen in October just because we already have good spooky stuff in mind.
Yeah.
And there aren't a lot of good spooky beat 'em ups, unfortunately.
No, not too many.
But maybe in November is when we're going to be doing that. So stay tuned for that, and definitely check out our recording of our Shmup Night, which is up on this Twitch channel. It's also on our YouTube.
Yeah.
Check it out.
It's a load of fun. Back to the news. We got an article from theregister.co.uk.
So this was like the first... One of the things I try and do is find the first place I see these stories posted.
Yeah.
So that's why this is kind of a weird news source.
Right.
But Capcom goofed. They goofed again.
They keep goofing, and they keep goofing a lot with Street Fighter V. In this case, they have goofed by... So, for the PC version of the game, there was a new update that was supposed to help prevent cheating, but what it actually did was... it did that, sort of, but it also installed a rootkit into your system, which gives any installed application kernel-level privileges. What that means is that malicious software on the system can get into your, basically, malicious software intended to take over your system can do so through a driver that Street Fighter V has installed onto your computer.
If you've I've never heard of software that does this before, you have, because this is pretty much what all malware does.
Yeah, it gets in there.
It gets into that kernel.
Yeah, it gets in that kernel. And Capcom claimed that this driver was installed to stop players from hacking the game. That's legit. That's probably why they put it in there.
Giving the game kernel-level privileges will stop people... is a way that you can stop people from hacking into the game on a very base level.
But Capcom apparently designed the code for this so poorly that it just turned into a backdoor on your computer for, viruses and malware.
Aww.
So, their heart was in the right place, I guess, but they did it really badly.
It seems like they were just what's the easiest shortcut we can think of to do
fix this? Yeah. Now, I'm not familiar right now with the current state of hacking on Street Fighter V. I don't know how big a deal it is right now on the PC version.
I mean, since there's a PC version, I assume that it's bigger than on the console version.
One would guess.
But, yeah, no, I don't know how big a deal it is.
So this article goes into more, technical stuff that neither of us understand. But the point is, it's really bad. So they wanted to allow their user mode game to poke around the machine at the lowest level and spot any attempts by the player to cheat. It was bundled with an update, the same update that brought the newest character, Urien. Capcom rep explained yesterday that as part of the new content and system update releasing later today, we're also rolling out an updated anti-crack solution, not DRM, that prevents certain users from hacking the executable. It also prevents memory address hacks that are commonly used for cheating and illicitly obtaining in-game currency and other entitlements. The solution does not require online connectivity in order to play the game in offline mode. However, players will be required to click confirm every time they boot up the game. This step allows a handshake to take place between the executable and the dependent driver prior to launch. So every time you open the game, it's doing this little handshake between the game and this driver that makes your computer vulnerable to malware.
Like a Hail Hydra handshake.
Yeah, exactly. He leans in real close.
There's our dated reference for you.
Yeah. It's fine. But in a recent story, I don't know. A not so recent story. So, because this happened late last week, didn't it? It wasn't yesterday that thing came out. It was last Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, we're reporting on this a little on the later side. But September 23rd, article on Polygon, Capcom has rolled back that anti-cheat measure because of all those problems. They released a client-side security update, yada, yada, yada. The update caused headaches for players on PC who said the game wouldn't launch for them. After users complained on Steam and social media, Capcom said they were looking into the issue. So they also caused boot issues within the game because of this. probably because of that handshake process you had to go through. Capcom said the new anti-crack solution prevents memory access certain ways, so perhaps this is creating a false positive situation that may trigger either the antivirus software or Windows data execution prevention. So now they are saying, oh, well, now our system's just making itself look like malware to your computer, so your game won't run. Because Windows is like, hey, what are you doing? This is real bad.
Yeah, no, I am glad that Windows was like, oh, they're giving you kernel level permission. That doesn't seem right that an application would want to do that.
That's kind of weird.
That's a red flag.
So they are going to have a update coming for a PC rollback that will leave in all of the other content from the September update. So hopefully this is the last we'll hear of this.
Capcom, this is what happens when you cut corners. Don't do it.
It's not great.
Oh, this is the greatest title for an article I've seen in a while. I'm going to say that for those who are watching but who are listening,
drop that title on
so
everyone.
This is from September 29th from Polygon, and the title is "The Makers of Evangelion Will Turn You into a Princess Next Month." Update.
So yeah, from September 29th on Polygon, a video game called Princess Maker 2 is finally coming out in English. 23 years after its initial release.
Wow!
Aren't you excited? Look at this amazing gameplay. Thank you, Gynax.
Oh, we appreciate it,
Gynax. So this game, I've heard of this game. And as it says here, it's a cult classic royalty simulator. And Gynax and a Korean game publisher, CFK, skipped ahead in this video a little bit, are doing this English release. The game came out in 1993 on Windows 98, Sega Saturn, and other platforms in Japan. The Refine edition of the game is coming out on Windows PC via Steam on October 3rd. In case you're wondering what the hell this game is about, it's about you being like the steward of a princess, and you need to make sure she grows up into a fine young ruler, and there's like 74 different endings. Depending on what you do. You gotta stop her from, like, stealing stuff and teach her how to interact with the townsfolk.
I mean, 74 different endings for the 90s was pretty progressive.
That's pretty robust.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot going on here. You gotta tutor her and make sure she's doing alright. She's got stats. You got gold. It's more or less like a visual novel, like, RPG kind of thing. There's actually, there's world map stuff going on.
Oh, sweet. Get that Final Fantasy up in here.
Look at it.
Was she going through the mud? What is it?
A wretch condor.
Get that out of here.
Oh my god.
Oh, Jesus.
So yeah, it's going to come out on Steam for $19.99. Whoa, the update, the release was pushed up till yesterday. It's out now.
It's out now. No, that's not something I expected. The release decided to happen sooner.
Yeah. But you get a 20% discount through October 5th.
Oh, that's nice.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. If you like anime and dress-up games and being a princess, check it out.
I feel like dressing princesses.
Dressing princesses.
Ooh.
It's not like that. This game's like super innocent.
That's,
you're right out of the gutter.
That's a great microcosm of Japanese culture, where it's like, the theming seems like it could be, like, real weird, but no, it's actually totally innocent.
Yeah. And then there's the times when it's not.
But not intentionally. Never. Sometimes. Oh, man, do you want some Hollywood movie news?
Finally, Firewatch the way it was always meant to be as a movie.
The way it was meant to be, a way where you can't play it.
So, yeah, Firewatch is apparently getting a movie adaptation.
Yeah, this is a story that we're grabbing from Destructoid from
the 26th.
26th.
So, the indie developer behind and publisher behind Firewatch, Campo Santo, has announced that they are teaming up with Good Universe, which is a film production company. The idea is to create video game adaptations of movies and vice versa. The first project is going to be Firewatch. Which anyone doesn't know, it came out earlier this year, or did it come out the end of last year? I honestly can't remember.
I thought it was in the spring. This past spring.
Was it this past spring? Sure.
I don't know.
That's fine.
It had a lot of Yeah, I don't want to say hype, but there was some interesting anticipation for this game because the art style is super interesting.
And the trailers were really good.
Yeah, the trailers were really good.
They were very well cut together, and the voice acting is like excellent as well. So it drummed up a lot of like interest.
And then it came out, and I don't want to say it flopped. It didn't flop, but it just sort of was. It was met with kind of a meh response.
It was a 3-hour-long walking game.
Yeah,
where you walked and talked.
So it's perfect for a movie.
Exactly. Like, I saw this and I was like, yeah, that works. That's no problem. But you need to get good actors. You need to get good voices, and you need to get, especially for the characters that you only talk to through your radio in the game, you gotta get people who can really talk well. Because there's a certain quality to... It's like the idea that voice acting and physical acting are different. You need to get people who have the voice acting chops to make a compelling character just through audio. If they're gonna do the adaptation the way I think they will, which is more or less having it be about like one character who only interacts with other people via this radio. I mean, I hope they do it that way. It'd be much more interesting than other alternatives. But I guess we'll see. There's not really much other news about this, beyond that it's probably happening.
You know what this reminds me? The Warcraft movie just came out on Blu-ray.
Did it?
It did. It just did.
Maybe I should watch it.
You should watch it. It's actually a lot of fun.
Maybe if I watch it, Blizzard will make an Overwatch movie.
See, we've talked about that before. If Blizzard keeps being super successful with raking in that money for its movies, just make an Overwatch movie. It'll be so good.
Oh, I'll be so happy.
But
what a delight.
But yeah, no, that just came out. And the deluge of critical hate for that movie has just reignited since it came out on DVD. And I was like, oh, that's so sad. Because, it's not a good movie, but it's a fun movie. Come on.
Come on.
Come on.
I recently watched Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice.
Oh, how was that? Bat soup.
What a piece of crap. There were some parts of it I liked, but man, what a big nothing movie. I watched the extended edition too. That crap is 3 hours long.
Oof.
My God.
Oof.
I don't know how they even did that.
All right, well,
anyway, that's for our other stuff.
We got another Destructoid story from the 29th.
About Unworthy, which is another cool 2D take on Dark Souls. I want to play this game. And I want to play this game because I played the other 2D take on Dark Souls, Salt and Sanctuary. Let me tell you about Salt and Sanctuary. That game got a ton of hype when it came out. People were like, we love this game. It's so cool. It's 2D Dark Souls. Some people were like, this is better than Dark Souls. So I decided to play Salt and Sanctuary. After immediately being disgusted with the fact that all the characters look like horrific, emaciated Muppets. Like, terrible character design. Just terrible. If you're one of the two people who worked on the game and you're the one who did the art, I'm sorry, but your characters look awful. Like, I really hate them. I don't know. I don't know. The environments and monsters and stuff look fine. Those look good. But man, I couldn't get into that game because of the character. Until I found a helmet that was like a pumpkin. So my character's head was just a pumpkin and I didn't have to look at his horrible face. That made it a lot easier to troop through. The game plays fine as a 2D Dark Souls. It's enjoyable to a point. I think I got like 7 or 8 areas in and fought several bosses. And after that point, it just started feeling really, really samey. It does not have the same uniqueness to it that a lot of the Dark Souls areas do. Like, there's a lot more variety and a lot more interesting monster designs within each zone that are unique to that zone and gameplay mechanics and things. Whereas Salt and Sanctuary just became very much the same thing over and over and over again.
Okay.
Pretty quickly, I felt. This game, though, I really like the art style. It's super simplistic.
Yeah, for those who are not watching the video, this is, did you say what the name was?
Unworthy. Yeah.
And it has this black and white art style.
Lots of parallax scrolling.
Yeah, lots of parallax scrolling. And the character and all the monsters as well, you just see their silhouettes.
It's like Nidhogg. The first Nidhogg.
The first Nidhogg.
Yeah.
You just see their silhouettes and it's sort of just like levels of gray.
Yeah.
Like your frame of your initial sort of terrain is black, and then like your character is like a shade lighter than that, and then the level behind them is a shade lighter, and the level behind them is a shade lighter.
Right.
So it's still pretty easy to be able to see everything that's going on.
Right.
But at the same time, you're still just seeing everything in silhouette. It's really interesting looking.
I think it's cool, and it's like in pre-alpha right now. Like it's not close to being done. But I'm really interested in this, because I like the idea of like a 2D game utilizing Dark Souls-esque mechanics. But I also want to like looking at it. And I feel like, I think my problem with Salt Sanctuary is it also felt like it overstayed its welcome. Like it's a lengthy game. There's a lot of content there, but it becomes repetitive too quickly.
Yeah.
And if it had been a much shorter title, I feel like it would have done itself a service by being shorter, because some of the bosses also feel rather uninspired after a point.
My bad. This game is not black and white. There is red in it for the blood.
Oh yeah, the blood is red. It's like a Sin City thing.
Frank Miller made this game.
Frank Miller made it.
Don't you censor him.
He hates being
censored.
So yeah, that's a game to keep an eye on. I'm definitely interested in it.
Update on a story from last week. We're just going to go through this real quick because it was a silly story last week and it's a silly story now.
Palmer Luckey, creator of Oculus Rift, was like, "Oh, look at me, I created the Oculus Rift. Also, I support Donald Trump." He was accused of this.
He was giving to an organization called Nimble America.
Yeah, under the tag name Nimble Rich Man.
And Nimble America
he's a near billionaire. So.
He's a near billionaire. But Nimble America's whole thing is shit posting.
Yes.
And anti-Hillary Clinton
They can't get
stuff.
enough. Memes are magic.
They did have a statement in which they said memes are magic.
Yes. So people have looked into this. This article's from Polygon in particular from the 23rd.
So this was like the day, because we reported on the story that had broke on Thursday, the 22nd. So this is just his response to it the day later. And, so it's kind of old news by now, but we wanted to give the update.
Yes. Basically, Palmer Luckey said in response to all these accusations that he is deeply sorry that his actions are negatively impacting the perception of Oculus and its partners. The news stories about me do not accurately represent my views. I contributed $10,000 to Nimble America because I thought the organization had fresh ideas on how to communicate with young voters through the use of several billboards.
One thing I will point out there, $10,000 for a near billionaire. He has hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
What was it? It was over 5, right? It was like 6 something,
like
maybe?
540 or 640 or something like that.
So giving $10,000 is like really nothing for him.
Yeah. But this article goes on to talk about posts he made on Reddit that he claims to have not made. The fact that he gave to a website that accuses rapist migrants and advocates of Donald Trump's political stances and stuff. Like other issues similarly inflammatorily presented.
Yeah.
That's really what the criticism's about, is like, why'd you pick this organization?
And when we reported on it, there was already a company that was making a game for Oculus, or rather was porting to Oculus, I don't remember which.
Yeah.
And when they heard the news, they were like, nope, not gonna do it, just Hive for us.
Yeah. Lucky also said, I didn't do it because money's an issue or anything, I just thought it seemed like fun.
A real jolly good time.
What a hero. Then he goes on to talk about how much of a libertarian he is and how he can't believe people are accusing him of this stuff.
He's saying, like, I was not Nimble Rich Man.
And then other guys are saying, like, yes, you were.
Yeah, he does not deny that he gave money to the organization, but he does deny that he is the Nimble Rich Man. So all the comments attributed to that guy, he's like, no, that wasn't me.
Right.
Now, the newspaper that originally reported on this responded, except we have this email correspondence with you in which you say you are this handle. So it's sort of weird that, but that could be photoshopped. We don't really know. So
who knows?
We're not actually entirely sure. I don't think... I don't know. I don't know how much this is going to help him. I think there was another report of another company that was not going to work with Oculus because of this.
Beyond the people who made Super Hypercube?
Yeah. Other studios who have worked with Oculus similarly expressed disappointment.
Insomniac Games.
Yeah, Insomniac Games. They were very upset about this.
But they go on to say that they're confident the behavior and sentiment doesn't reflect on Oculus employees for the most part.
Yeah, so it's not... I don't actually think that they're pulling all of their support for Oculus. They just came out with a very strong statement against this whole thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I again, like, time will tell if there's more fallout for this for Oculus. I feel like there probably isn't going to be. I think it's going to be okay.
Yeah, we would have heard about more at this point. I think this will blow over.
And also the fact that it was 10,000...
It's not really all that much.
It's really not that much. It's a lot for me.
I mean, yeah, it's a lot for us. Hey, are you in China? Do you love League of Legends?
Do you buy stuff from China?
Well, you can play China on a console. You can play League of Legends on a Chinese console.
China's too big to fit on a console. Damn, that's ridiculous.
So, Riot Games' parent company, Tencent Games, announced a new gaming platform called the TGP. The Tencent Games Platform. What a terrible name.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
So it's coming out in China. It took a little while for the word to get to us, but this means that this console runs League of Legends, which has a lot of people interested. It also has an access to a variety of things like FIFA Online and Call of Duty.
Oh, if it's got FIFA, the Europeans will love it. If it's got Call of Duty, the Americans will love it.
The console also functions as a full Windows 10 PC.
Oh.
It's a Steam box.
Oh, it's a Steam box.
It's just a Steam box.
That's nice.
It costs like $550. And that's kind of a lot of money if you just want to play League of Legends, but...
If you want to do all those other things, maybe it's not.
Maybe it's not.
How?
And if you really want to play League on a console, like, go for it.
Do we have the specs on this? What exactly... How good is it?
That's a great question. There's no specs here.
Because that's the thing I worry about with anything I'm buying from China. Let's just let's put that out there. There's a little video. You can watch the video. Remember to mute it.
I don't know if it's muted already. I don't know if this video is going to help us.
Probably not, but man, it's a great commercial. I love it already. Chinese guy decides to go into a paper world.
He decided to.
Yeah, and...
it was his choice.
And he's pushing people into a bus. What does this have to do with a console? I don't understand.
I don't either.
He seems distraught with his place in the world right now. He's going to work.
Got to work. There's Superman's with him and some gum girl.
Everything's just too crowded. That's the thing that
He's like, I'm done.
Yeah, he's pushing people out of here. His little meter...
Pikachu is there.
That's how you market a product, is you have Pikachu show up.
Yeah.
He's got all these files he's got to deal with at work. Oh.
Where are the video games?
Yeah, I don't know. I still don't understand. This is the Tencent Games platform, like, advertisement video. I do like how it has 551 views.
And one dislike.
And one dislike and no likes.
I'm gonna like it.
Just like...
I'm gonna like it.
Hey, you were liking it as me. This is like
you like it? Don't even pretend you don't.
I mean, it's true. I totally do. This guy's overacting is kind of genius.
So, the point is you can play League of Legends on a console if you really want to.
He's finally gotten home to his computer.
What I wonder is...
Oh, and there's all the load times. You can't handle all of them. He's crying.
Oh!
So he needs the box so he can bypass all this computer junk.
Okay. So after a long day at work... Don't you want to just start up your console and play League of Legends?
Yeah. See,
I guess I get that.
That's a totally fair way to market it. I just wish that we didn't have to watch through a minute and a half of
nonsense
to get to that.
Oh well.
Now we got some stories transitioning over to France. We're moving on over to France for a bunch of stories about Ubisoft. They were in the news quite a bit this week. For those who may recall, we reported a couple months ago, and it was in the news all over the place, about how Vivendi is trying to get back into video games after selling, last year? They sold all their Activision Blizzard stock.
Yeah.
And they made a ton of money. They made they sold it for like $8 billion or something. It was ridiculous. And for a while, they were just not involved in video games, and lately they've been like, hey, Ubisoft, what if we bought a controlling stake in your company and then took it over? Wouldn't that be great? We would love to do that. Make all that Assassin's Creed cheddar. But Ubisoft is owned by the Guillermo family. That's how you pronounce it, right? Guillermo. I don't know French. Whatever. The Guillermo family, and like all of them, like if you look at the people who are like all in all the positions of power in that company, it's like all the brothers of that family.
Yes.
And they've made the company. They've been with it since the beginning. It is, a family-owned AAA video game company, which I don't think there are any others like that in the world.
I don't think so.
No, it's sort of one of a kind. So, of course, Vivendi's like, what if we put a stop to that? So they were trying to buy stuff, and early this week, we're going to cite an article from VentureBeat. This is from last Friday, so the 23rd. The family, the Guillemot, yes, family decided to go and try and buy a huge percentage, well, not a huge percentage, but a huge number of stocks to get a higher percentage of stake in the company so they can stave off a takeover. They went to a bank, which is called, I think it's in this article if you scroll down a bit, the French investment bank that is...
BPI France.
Yeah, BPI...
Banque Publique d'Investissement. Banque Publique d'Investissement.
Bank of Public Investment.
It's a French bank.
It's a French bank. They spent a lot of money. So they only bought 3.2% of the company's stock, but they spent $137.5 million US. Or 122.5 million euros, because that's actually what they spent in this transaction. Oh, it's an Austin Powers reference.
Yeah,
that's
you got it.
Okay.
I didn't do the pinky, so I realized it might have been hard to guess.
That's fair. These shares were purchased at $37.95 a share, which is a totally reasonable price for a share. So they bought 3.625 million shares,
which has, as I finish yawning, has staved off of Vivendi's takeover for now. Maybe.
So there was more news about that.
Oh my god!
Yesterday they had their big shareholder meeting.
Yes.
This is we're grabbing an article from CNBC. Sorry, CNBC News. And basically there was a shareholder meeting. And it was the Ubisoft shareholder meeting. Vivendi were there, and there were 2 seats that needed to be filled. Mm-hmm. And everyone was sweating real hard because there was like, oh, Vivendi's going to try and force in their people into these seats and then have voting power on the Ubisoft board.
But they didn't.
They stayed strangely silent during this meeting.
Yves Guillemot and Gerard Guillemot, the brothers who were like in charge, sat in instead. They took those 2 seats.
So, and the only thing that Vivendi was kind of jerkish about in this meeting is they abstained from the meeting entirely. So they were like weirdly passive-aggressive during this meeting. They just didn't want to participate. And as a result, there were a bunch of proposals that they had to vote on, and because they couldn't get enough votes to actually have the proposal go through, and I don't even think because it was a yay or nay thing, although this article doesn't specify, I think it was because they needed a certain percentage of the people to vote. And because Vivendi stayed silent, a bunch of stuff just didn't pass.
Right.
So, and this was mostly stuff that would I think it was proposals that would help employees and stuff. So it was not cool. But Vivendi was passive aggressive about it, but they weren't aggressive. In the wake of that, Yves Guillemot, I don't think I'm pronouncing it right.
Not Guillermo, that's like Guillermo del Toro.
That's what I want to say. Guillemot. He is cautiously optimistic. He has a plan A and a plan B. One of the things they're doing is that they're instituting this policy where their employees get to have a higher percentage of the shares of the company. They go from 2% to 4%.
Yeah.
So that will effectively be a higher percentage for the Guillemot family.
Yes.
And they also, they really don't like Vivendi.
Yeah, it's pretty clear.
One of the things they have said is that if Vivendi tries to just go and do a hostile takeover, the family is going to go and be like, oh, we're just going to look for someone to outright buy our company from us.
Right.
So that Vivendi doesn't get it.
From them.
Yeah.
So that's that.
Yeah. The breakdown real quick of who owns what percentage, just to demonstrate that this is still a super uphill battle for the Guillemot family.
Yes.
Vivendi owns 22.7% right now.
Yep.
The family owns 10.5%. Even after that huge purchase of 3% that they bought, they still only own a little more than 10%. And then you have the Ubisoft itself owns 3.25. So I guess the family sort of owns almost 14%.
Yeah.
And then other companies like Fidelity.
Small pieces.
Like Fidelity Management and Research Company.
Owns 9.3%.
9.3%. Sorry, this we had the website reloaded, but that's because it's trying to keep all its numbers up to date, so it reloads periodically. Which is kind of neat. But yeah, so
it's like you said, still an uphill battle, but
I assume what's going to happen is that Vivendi is going to go over to Fidelity Management, or maybe some of these other people that own like 2 to 3%, and just be like, "Can we buy you out?"
Yeah.
And that's how they're going to try and secure their place, in a similar way to how the Guillermo family bought out that investment bank for 3%. So it's still, they're still in the midst of it. It's an uphill battle, but hopefully they're going to be able to do it. We're going to see what happens.
We have our voter story this week as our last story, which is about a game called Hello Neighbor, which, as you can see from this Polygon article from yesterday, is a voyeuristic indie home invasion simulator.
Ooh.
This game looks kind of interesting. Basically, the whole idea is the debut trailer here. The whole point of it is that you have to go to your neighbor's house when they're not home because they're suspicious.
Oh.
Your neighbor's very suspicious. You're very suspicious of them. And you have to investigate their home to figure out what they're up to. This article compares it to like Alfred Hitchcock things like Rear Window.
Oh, that's cool.
In its presentation. And the trailer, you can see like the way that the characters like distract the person who lives in the house by like throwing a tomato at their window. So they go out and are like, "Hey, there's a tomato in my window." It's really interesting because this is kind of a thing that stealth games haven't really done yet. Is have this modern suburbia sneaking around in somebody else's house thing going on.
You can steal the light bulb out of their light bulb fixture.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Just to mess with them.
But the trailer, as you can see, everything, it looks pretty good. Like, it's got some basic physics stuff going on. You can get a hammer.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's got this weird sort of sinister vibe to it. It kind of reminds me of, or gives me the vibe of that movie that just came out, Don't Breathe, where those 3 teens, like, break into some blind dude's house to steal all his money.
See, I'm not sure how I feel about that movie. This is a side conversation, but I'm not sure how I feel about that movie because it seems like it's like, hey, you know what's scary? Blind people are scary. And I'm like, that's not cool, man. Come on.
I mean, I know I accidentally got spoiled on like everything that happens in that movie.
Well, it's fine. Well, we're not talking about that.
Yeah,
movie.
but it's beside the point. This movie reminds me of it because you're like in somebody else's house and they're like, hey, get out of my house. And everything starts getting crazy because they want you out of their damn house. The team, as you can see, also made, at the bottom here, it says, oh, look, it's getting spooky.
Oh.
It's getting spooky in the trailer.
They're locked in a shed.
What's going to happen? Nothing. They made the games Cluster Truck and Punch Club.
Oh, yeah, I've
Cluster
heard
Truck,
of
which like just came out, I think, or is coming out very soon. And the idea is that the game's AI is very advanced, and the person who lives in the house will like set up traps, and they know their house, so they'll try and figure out how to catch you places.
Yeah, so they're going to adapt to the things you do.
Yes.
Which is super interesting.
Yeah, and they haven't said what happens if you get caught, and the studio will not say. Which I think is interesting.
Wow.
I hope that means it's not just, and then they kill you.
Hopefully not.
Like, that would be pretty uninteresting. But who knows? It could be pretty cool. It's coming out in summer 2017. It's coming out for PC as of right now, and that's all. You can register for an alpha right now. And if you're interested in the game. And other than that, there's not much else to say right now.
All right.
But it looks neat. Kind of a unique stealth game.
So pull up upcoming games. That's all we've got left to do here.
Typey.
Bam.
What
so we
month
just ended the show with a little look at what's coming out, what came out today, what's coming out next week, came out this past week, that kind of stuff.
Sonic Boom Fire and Ice.
Oh, excitement.
It's gotten mediocre reviews, so if you want to play Sonic game, this one's not terrible.
XCOM 2 finally came out on PS4 and the Xbone.
Along with all of the fixes that it got on PC.
Yeah.
Well, allegedly there's still some glitches. Because that game just had all sorts of problems. Yokai Watch 2 on the 3DS came out today, as well as Azure Striker Gunvolt 2, if you're looking for some Mega Man style action.
King's Quest Chapter 4, Place Like Home.
Ha! That actually has gotten some very good reviews.
Yeah, it has.
I remember the second King's Quest episode did not get particularly good reviews. So a lot of people were worried that it wasn't going to pick back up, but from what I've heard, the third and now this one have really done a good job bringing it back.
Yeah.
Coming out soon, we got some stuff.
Rocksmith 2014 edition remastered.
None of these sound that interesting.
That's so Rocksmith 2014 edition remastered.
Mm-hmm.
What? Okay, drop the 2014 because it's coming out in 2016, so that makes zero sense.
I'm more interested in Warhammer End Times Vermintide.
That's an awfully long title.
Duke Grabowski, Mighty Swashbuckler.
Ooh, I like that title. That sounds good.
Some new Five Nights at Freddy's thing, because there can never be enough of those.
There can never be enough of those.
Mafia 3 comes out on the 7th.
Paper Mario.
Paper Mario Color Splash. Will it be good? Who knows?
I mean,
the last couple Paper Marios haven't been.
Oh, no.
Sticker Star, get it out of here. Send it away. So yeah, that's what we got. Point and click adventure spin-off of Ghost Pirates of Vuju Island. What the hell?
That's also a great title for a game. If nothing else, this company makes really good titled games.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose so. That's about it for this week, though.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Everybody who tuned in over Twitch. We have been Don't Copy That Floppy, a video game news podcast, broadcasting live on www.chipbit.net and www.twitch.tv/DCTF podcast on Fridays, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're also on all sorts of social media, such as Twitter, Facebook, Steam, YouTube, iTunes. That might be it. I already talked about Twitch, so I don't need to mention that again.
Yeah, I think that's everything.
You can follow us on all that cool social media. We would really appreciate it. You can leave us an iTunes review. We got a new iTunes review the other day.
We did?
It was 10 out of 10 would listen again. That's all it said. And it was a 5-star review, which was weird that it said 10 out of 10. But that's okay. We still really appreciate it.
What was the person's name? Do you know?
I don't remember. It's probably one of the people who's involved in this Twitch chat right now. I wouldn't be surprised.
Probably. Shout-outs if you're listening.
Yeah,
thanks.
and thanks for participating in the Twitch chat. I was sort of in there, but a little busy with the show. And thank you, Chiblet Thief, for hosting us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That's really cool of you to do. Let's see. You can, if you want to support the show, you can donate to our Patreon.
Yeah.
There are all sorts of cool rewards where you can get a chance to vote on stories that we do each week. You can get additional content where we talk about movies and comic books and stuff. And you can help us reach milestones. One of those milestones was getting the Twitch channel. Yeah. Others include doing YouTube videos, getting better video equipment, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And was there anything else we wanted to mention? I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think so. That's about it.
That pretty much covers it.
So until next time, remember, don't copy that floppy.